Welcome to the Chingona Revolution podcast, where we will bring out your inner badass Latina, overcome self-doubt, help you gain clarity, and pave your own path, all while leading with courage. I am your host, Latina coach and speaker, Erika Cruz. Hello, rebels, and welcome back to another episode of Chingona Revolution podcast. We have a very insightful, educational episode for you today. Last week, I held a masterclass titled From Doubtful to Chingona, how to start the passion or business project that you've been delaying in 90 days. It's going to teach you how to build confidence, how to build courage, all of the good stuff. And I received so many DMs about the recording, people asking for it. So we figured we would do something really amazing for you and put it onto the podcast. So even if you attended the masterclass live, I highly recommend that you listen to this again. You can just put it on 2x speed because you are going to hear things that you maybe missed the first time around. So this class is, in my opinion, good because it's simple, but it is effective. And if you've been struggling to take action and if you keep finding yourself procrastinating, this is the class for you. I talk to you all about what it is that you are desiring, what it is that's getting in your way, and what the solution is. And then I'm sharing 4 really insightful strategies for you. So I am very excited for you to listen to this masterclass. Today is also a very special day because today is the day that we open the doors to my group program, Courage Driven Latina. So that is why this class was free. It was sponsored by my group program, Courage Driven Latina. You're going to hear more about it as we get to the end of the masterclass. Even if you've been in Courage Driven Latina before, I had Irania join, who was in the first round of Courage Driven Latina. And her comment inside of the masterclass was, wow, let me read the exact comment. Okay, Yarania said, let me just say it's so beautiful to see how much this program has evolved from when I first joined. Your techniques have been such a big part of my growth. If you're ever thinking about joining, do it. You won't regret it. Thank you again and have a wonderful night, everyone. So thank you so much, Yarania, for joining. You are the best. So yes, even if you've been in the program before, I encourage you to listen to this masterclass because it has really evolved. I mean, this program has been around for 3 years, and what I'm teaching you in this class is what I've learned from data of over 150 Latinas that have gone through this program who have struggled with self-doubt, who've gotten in their own way of starting a podcast, of starting a business, of taking their first solo trip, all of the things. So I hope you enjoy this class. And if you would like to join Courage Driven Latina, go to couragedrivenlatina.com, secure your spot. If you have questions and you're not sure, you can schedule a consult call with me. Again, just go to couragedrivenlatina.com. And then the other major thing is that this program has changed over 150 women's lives in simply 3 months. This was a 3-month program and it has transformed so many lives and changed the trajectory of so many women who are now doing incredible things. And guess what? This program is now 12 months long. So this is a $9,000 value that you are getting for a third of the price. How awesome is that? No, not a third, a quarter of the price, a quarter of the price. Erika can't math over here. Anyways, enjoy this masterclass because it is good stuff. And I can't wait to see what realizations you have from the class. Let's get into it. Welcome to From Doubtful to Chingona. Start the passion or business project that you've been delaying in 90 days. I know what it's like to delay things. Trust me, I delayed things for a long time. We're going to get into that today. This class is completely free. It is sponsored by Courage Driven Latina, which is my group program. And at the end of the class, you'll learn a little bit more about the program to see if it is the right fit for you. But there's also a really cool special bonus at the end that I don't want you to miss out on. So make sure you stay with us until the end. All right, where is it that we're going? What are we doing? I'm going to talk to you a little bit about who you are. I'm going to talk to you about who I am. We're going to go over, all right, what is this thing that you want and what is getting in the way of it? We're going to talk about the solution. And then I'm going to go over 4 strategies that have not only worked for myself, but also for my clients in reaching the things that my clients or that you would want. We're also going to have time for Q&A, and then we'll talk about Courage Driven Latina. You may want to grab something to write with in case you want to take notes or in case questions come up. always feel free to use the chat. If you want to use your phone to like take a picture of something, feel free. But I always like to say time is the one thing that we do not get back, right? You're here, you signed up for this class, and you are in, or virtually, I was going to say you're here in person. You signed up for this class and you won't get this time back. So you might as well be here, right? Like, let's be where we are. Let's do our best to be present, because something may flip a switch for you here. You may have a realization or an epiphany that could take you to the goals that you wanted to get to. So you are in the right place if you are the clarity seeker. So you're looking for clarity on your purpose. You're not sure where you want to go next in your life, but you do know there has to be more. Like, this can't be it. Or you are the hesitator. You know what you want, but haven't gotten yourself to do it. So maybe you start and you stop, or you feel like you lack experience. So you're just kind of like that, like you're trying to go, but you keep holding back. And then there's the small player. So maybe you already started on something, like maybe you already have a dream project, or maybe you've already started a business, but you know, deep down, you know that you're playing small. And then lastly, the rebel. So you feel like the black sheep, or maybe the unicorn of your family, but you are the cycle breaker and you don't really feel like you belong, which is your strength, but it also is kind of crappy, right? Like, you're looking for a supportive community of driven women and you don't really feel like you fit in where you are right now. So I think I'm going to have to, let's see if I can share a poll. Oh yeah, cool. I can share the poll. So I want to know, who can you relate to? Go ahead and start voting here. You can select more than one. So just so you know, you can select all the ones that apply. And then I'm going to share the results as you are all voting. I'm going to wait. I'll wait. The hesitator, a lot of hesitation. So I'll share the results once enough people vote, but definitely a lot of hesitators. So tell me which one you are. So I'm going to keep describing you, whether you are, like a little bit of all of these, or maybe a combination of two. You, amiga, you're doubting yourself and your abilities. And quite frankly, you're tired of your own shit. You're probably like, yeah, like, when are we gonna stop this dance of like back and forth? And you're tired of stopping and starting and maybe creating something and not following through with it. And you're tired of letting other people's opinions stop you. And a lot of times, I want to be clear, like, a lot of times other people's opinions exist up here. They exist in our brain. It's not even that these opinions are being said to us, right? We're assuming what other people might say about us doing something. We're like, oh, I don't want to post on social media because what are my cousins going to say? Or what are my old coworkers going to think of me? That one's a huge one. And as much as you've tried to ignore this calling, whatever this calling is, but you know what you feel like doing. Even if you feel like you lack clarity, you have an idea of kind of what you want to do. And as much as you try to ignore this calling, you can't stop thinking about it. Like, it keeps coming back. And you've already decided that your future is going to be different than your past, but you don't know how or where. You don't know where, like what's going to happen or how it is you want to start. And that's why you're here. So thank you all for participating. These are the results. So about half of you are a clarity seeker. You're looking for clarity. The majority of you are a hesitator. 37% of you know you're playing small. And then, of course, about half of you are the rebels. I also want to be really clear that a rebel, you're not even seeing this. Sorry. There we go. Share results. I also want to be really clear that a rebel does not mean that we're going to rebel for the purpose of hurting other people. A rebellion is more from this place of living the life that we want, not the life that maybe our parents want of us or our culture wants of us. But the way that my community and you here are a rebel, it's always for the greater good, right? Like, we're breaking trauma. We are breaking generational curses. We are rebelling for something greater and something bigger. So I also just want to be really clear what my definition is of a rebel. I should probably have my team make a post about that. That would be a good post. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to quickly look at the chat because LOL, select all. There's all parts within me. I feel like I sabotage myself. Wow. Seriously hits home. I think you made me a rebel, says Jessica. I love it. Okay. Fantastic. So let me close the Sorry, my side. There we go. So here's what you want. I may not know exactly what it is, but here's some of the things that you want. You want to overall be confident and courageous so that you could finally start the Instagram page and actually post. Or so you can make a decision on what you think your purpose might be and actually try it. Or so you can finally start the business, whether it is a lash business, whether it is a candle business, a coaching business, a nonprofit, whatever it is that's in your mind. You also want to have that confidence to go on the date and to get back on the dating apps, maybe after a divorce. You want to be able to ask for the raise at work, and you want to impact your community that you care so much about. And overall, y'all, you just want that J-Lo energy when you walk into a room where you just feel sure of yourself and you feel like you belong there. That is essentially what you want, but overall to feel confident and courageous. Here are just some examples. I want to be really clear. You don't need to want to start a business to be here. You don't need to want to post on social media to be here. And this is all possible for you. I know this for a fact. I do, because I've supported over 150 Latinas with my framework, and I'm going to share that with you today. I'm going to share how my strategies in this framework have worked for some of my clients as well as for myself. And before we go there, I just want to talk a little bit about the 4 personas, right? So the clarity seeker, we're going to use Kim as an example. Kim was just in the last round of my group program. We worked together, but Kim had no idea what was next for her. And Kim is one of those like multi-passionate, like badasses. And I remember whenever we first spoke, she was telling me, she's like, I just like get excited about something and I start it, but then I don't really follow through. And she had all of these different interests, and there was not really a lot of clarity on what she wanted to do next. So after working together and teaching her some of the strategies that I'm going to teach you today, she ended up starting an Instagram live series called This Is How We Heal. It's such a good Instagram live series. I recommend following Kim. Her handle is It's Kim Flow, ITS KIMFLOW. And I was recently on her Instagram live series, but so were a bunch of the other girls that were in the program. And it's an amazing Instagram series. And then we have the hesitator. So this is Edie's. Edie's is a great example of somebody who knew what she wanted, but she was hesitant. She knew what she wanted so well that she already had a certification in coaching, but she hadn't put herself out there. She had never like worked with anyone before. And then when we began to work together, she ended up landing her first 5 clients and made money in her business for the first time. So she went from like really hesitating to going for it. And then we have the small player. This is Janet. So Janet already had a coaching business with amazing client results. Like she was getting like 90% re-sign rate or something like that, which is kind of crazy. I know that this is kind of businessy talk. Don't worry, this is still relevant, even if you have no interest in starting a business. But she was charging entry-level prices. And I was like, you are now her speaking fee. I was like, you can't charge that amount. Like this is you playing small right now. You're doing yourself a disservice. And her speaking fee now starts at $4,000, and we raised her prices. She made $18,000 in 3 weeks. This is not all about making money, right? But this is about not playing small. And if we think about how beneficial it is, not just for her, but for generations to come, that she's not playing small, that she's taking up space, that she's allowing herself to create wealth and build wealth, that is really, really powerful. And then we have the rebel. So Lizette is an example of a rebel who was looking for a supportive community because her immediate circle didn't provide one. It wasn't like they were hating or anything, but it was just that they were distracted doing their own thing, and they didn't really know how to support her. So she ended up working with me twice. And the first time we worked together was really focused on her life. And then the second time we worked together was really focused on her business. But what she was actually able to do is left a toxic job. She got her personal training certificate and she started her business, even like when people around her were maybe questioning why she was even doing that. So I hope you found just like a little bit of relevancy there with some of the people. And then obviously there's me. So a lot of you already know who I am. Some of you are my clients. Some of you are my friends on Instagram. Some of you are my friends in real life. So hi, I am Erika. Some of you may have no idea who I am, but I am a Latina coach and speaker. I am the creator of Courage Driven Latina, as well as the podcast host for Chingona Revolution. I consider myself a professional failure, which I wear very proudly, and I'll tell you more about later. And 3 years ago, I was in your exact shoes. So you're going to hear more about me later, but let's get into some of the good stuff. So look, I don't know what you want to do, but I do know what's stopping you. And I kind of want to know what you want to do. So let's go ahead and do a little poll of possibilities. Like, what is it that you've been delaying? Maybe something that you've thought about, but haven't given yourself the chance to like go after it. Or maybe you keep procrastinating, you keep delaying it. And you can select as many as you'd like for this one as well. So I can see starting a business, having difficult conversations, asking for a raise at work, taking a first solo trip, or just more travel in general, launching a podcast, starting a social media page. I'm going to share the results shortly. I'll give you all like 30 more seconds to. Oh, I was like, nobody wants to prioritize themselves, but it was just not visible for me. Okay, I think we have enough votes. So let me go ahead and. Oh, no, still polls are coming in or votes are coming in. I'm going to look at the chat in the meantime. If any questions come up, feel free to let me know. Vanessa says J-Lo energy for sure. I know her in real life. I started the business, but pitching to brands for collaborations is what's stopping me. Yeah, I actually have a private client. We're working on that. Yeah, we're working on her pitch deck, right? Like, how can you, because see, when we play small, this is what happens when we play small. We imagine if I played small, and I played small for a long time, and we'll get into that in a second. But imagine if I played small, even with this like webinar, right? Like or if I was so in my way that I didn't even have this masterclass, you all wouldn't even be here right now. Difficulties posting on Instagram definitely resonates. Okay. Others decluttering my space and getting back to my masters. Okay. Tanya, I meant to ask you about your masters when we spoke. Ooh, okay. All right. So let me go ahead and end the poll because we have a lot of, almost all of you participated. So let me share these results. 57% of you want to start a business. 30% of you are avoiding having a difficult conversation. 13% of you are avoiding asking for a raise at work. 28% of you are looking to either take your first solo trip or maybe just travel more in general. 23% of you want to launch a podcast. One of the Jessicas who's here launched a podcast in my program, and I can't wait to be on it. And then starting a social media page is 29%, and then half of you want to prioritize yourself. That's kind of crazy because most of you, I assume, would identify as Latina or underserved community, and for like that many of you I've been delaying putting myself first, because when we don't put ourselves first, it's really difficult for us to show up for others. So more about that later. So again, I don't know exactly what you want to do. Well, I kind of do now because we just did a poll, but I do know what's stopping you. And here's what is stopping you. Here's what's causing the delays. You don't believe in yourself. And it's not just that you don't like believe in yourself, it's that you're letting self-doubt win. You know how we have like those two little voices? You're letting self-doubt essentially drive the car of your life. You're letting self-doubt be the author of the book of your life. But just like we're letting self-doubt drive and be the author, we can take control again. So you might be thinking, okay, I know I doubt myself, but not believing in myself feels a little bit extreme, Erika. So here are some signs that you are doubting yourself. You might sound a little bit like, I need a certification or a degree before I can start. I want to, but what if I fail? ¿Qué va a decir la gente? I just need to do more research. And then you start to do more research, and then you realize that the more research you do, the more there is to learn. And then you end up in this, what I call the research cycle. Once I have a website, right? Like, no, I need to look legit or else I can't. People are already doing this. Oh, that's a huge one. My current situation isn't that bad. This one, if you all listen to my podcast episode about good being the enemy of great, or like how to live a great life instead of just a good life, it's so crazy how like, this isn't that bad. So like, let me not actually even go after what I want. Because I could have stayed in my tech job forever, which we'll get into that in a second. I'm jumping ahead here. I'm assuming you all know exactly who I am. Oh, wait, there we go. This one's huge. I should just be grateful. My parents didn't have half of the opportunities that I have. And this one sounds really humble, right? It sounds humble and it sounds like, yeah, I should just be grateful. But I have news for you, friends. Yes, we should always be grateful. But this thought right here, I should just be grateful because my parents didn't have half of these opportunities, is actually fear keeping you in your comfort zone. It's actually you convincing yourself that it's fine that you are exactly where you are. So as you look at all of these different thoughts, put the number in the chat because I didn't create a poll for this one. So just put a number in the chat and tell me which one is relevant for you. Number 7. Yeah. Oh man. Number 1 hit hard. 100% the certification. Yeah. Number 3 and 4. OMG. Yes. 6 and 7. Humble versus grateful. All of the above. Yeah. They take turns, says Sophia. Number 7 all the way. Number 2. Yeah. 4. I can't see 4. What does 4 say? I'm like, on my side, there's a lot of controls. So it kind of tends to like block the, a ver. Let's move this bad boy. Okay. I just need to do more research. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all so much for your participation. I appreciate it. Yeah. And I just hope that this chat right now is showing you that you are not alone and there's nothing wrong with having these thoughts, right? That's why we're all here today. So I was in your shoes, right? I told you 3 years ago, I was in your shoes. I was working in tech for 8 years, thinking that I was following this American dream that my parents immigrated for. And while, yeah, like I was living this American dream, I wasn't living my American dream. I was living what my parents thought I should be doing, which was go to school, get a job, try to get promoted, and then like end up engaged. So here I am, like at 26 years old, having like a quarter life crisis. And I had just like the first courageous thing I ever did was call off an engagement. And that was when everything changed. Now I'm chopping my hair off like, like it's no big deal on a Thursday afternoon. So when I had called off this engagement, hold on, let me go back. When I was in tech for 8 years, I realized that I was doing everything I should do, not what I wanted to do. And, this was like going back to ¿qué va a decir la gente? And, I want to do something different, but what if I fail? I mean, I had all the thoughts at some point in my life. And I realized that, during the pandemic, I realized that I was living my parents' American dream, not my dream. And I truly believe that, if our parents sacrifice so much for us to have these opportunities, instead of saying like, oh, let me just be grateful, it's like, no, if they sacrifice so much, why am I going to sacrifice doing something I don't want to do? It is your responsibility, in my opinion, to live an authentic, fulfilling life if your parents went through all of that sacrifice, even if your parents don't understand it. Because when I ended up leaving tech after 8 years, my mom thought I was crazy. But now she loves my business. Now she's one of my biggest supporters. It simply was that she didn't understand. So then I had just called off an engagement. And then I was questioning myself. I was like, am I crazy? Am I never going to be loved again? Like my family was judging me. I was judged from so many different areas. And I felt like I needed to prove that I made the right decision. And then I was interested in starting a food blog, but I felt like I couldn't because I wasn't a chef. And I was afraid of what people would say. And then I was overwhelmed because I was like, wait, I can't be a food blogger if I don't have a website because I need to look legit. And then I was just literally spending all my time consuming, right? Like how many of us don't do that who have a desire to create? And remember, you don't need to want to start a business or to show up on social media to be here. If you do, I can help you with that. If you don't as well, I'll show you examples of people who have been able to use these strategies for personal goals in life too. But who has done this where you like sit there and you're consuming and you don't create because you're just stuck consuming? That's exactly what I was doing. I was just comparing myself to all the other food bloggers. So I thought about this food blog for 2 years because I was waiting to feel confident. So here's what's happening, friends. You're trying to get rid of your doubt, but the doubt is always going to come back. If you were listening to my Instagram stories earlier today, or if you read my Instagram stories earlier today, also, can we look at the hair difference? Look at that. Look how long my hair is there. And this was just a couple months ago. Anyways, so if you were reading my Instagram stories, then you saw that I woke up and I was super excited about the masterclass today. And then I suddenly had this daunting thought that was like, Erika, we didn't do enough. Why didn't we do more? Why didn't we write better emails? Why didn't we create reels promoting this? Why didn't we do this, this, and that? And I'm just sitting there judging myself until I realized this is doubt. And the doubt is always going to come back. I literally experience doubt every time I'm doing something. When I was cutting my hair, I was like, did I just mess up? I can't put it back. Like, I mean, it's going to grow back, but I'm stuck with this for a little while. So what I want you to know is that doubt is nothing more than data telling you what needs a little love and what needs a little bit of work. This could have maybe gone over your head. So let me say this one more time. Data is nothing more than information for you. And I'm going to give you some examples. The idea of I need to get like a certificate or a certification or a degree before I can start. All this means is that you have a desire to learn more about this topic. But this thought right here isn't true. You don't need a degree before you start. And the reason you don't want a degree before you start, hey, I mean, if you're going to go perform open heart surgery, please disregard, please go get your degree. Please, if you're going to go perform law, you're going to need those degrees. I'm talking about, some of you who want to go start podcasts or who want to like pitch to people for sponsorships, or I'm just trying to remember some of the things that I saw inside of the chat. And those ones you're like, oh, I need to like learn more and do more. You don't need more, because can you imagine if I went to go become a chef to start the food blog? Who knows me for a food blog anymore? I mean, hate to jump to the future of the story, but we all know I'm not running a food blog anymore. That would have really sucked, right? So we almost want to validate the idea before, but what it does mean is that you want to learn more about the topic. And then there's, what if I fail? So this is like, a lot of people have this thought, and we're going to get more into failure in a second. But this thought is an invitation to explore why it is that you are equating your worth to your success. I'm aware that that sounds kind of Shakespeare-y, so let me say it in a different way. If you are fearing failure, then I ask you, what are you making failure mean about you? If you fail, what story are you telling yourself about yourself? Are you telling yourself that, oh, I'm not worthy if I fail, or I can't fail, or I'm not good enough? Because that is an invitation to explore, right? That's an invitation for some inner work. That's an invitation with like, oh crap, my inner child is super activated right now. When was she made to feel, or he or they? When was my inner child meant to feel like they had to be successful and they couldn't fail, or else they were unlovable? Bam. This is doubt, friends. Like, do you see how like deep this can get? And none of this has anything to do with like the doubt being real. It's just doubt is nothing more than information, and doubt always tells us something. So here's the solution. Here's the solution to overcoming the doubt. Are we ready? I feel like a little drum roll. You just need to start. That's it. You just need to start with your self-doubt and fear. So I want you to imagine this analogy of you being in the car. Okay. Right now, you're in the back seat, or you're like a co-pilot, and the doubt is in the driver's seat. So what I want you to do is at least put the doubt in the co-pilot seat, or at least put the doubt in the back seat. Eventually you'll be able to put the doubt in the trunk. But for now, because the doubt's always going to come with you. You're not going to be able to leave the doubt. I literally just told you about a few experiences with doubt for me this morning, right? So you need to start with the self-doubt and the fear. So here's what's happening. You think you need the confidence in order to take the action. Okay. But we actually need to reverse the formula, because the confidence comes from taking the action. So I'm going to give you all a few examples based on what I saw, right? So a lot of you wanted to start a business. So you're like, oh, once I'm confident, then I'm going to start the business. But you need to start the business, and then you're going to feel confident, right? Courage, as we know, courage is kind of one of my words. Courage is to do something despite being afraid. And this is no different. The confidence comes from you taking the action. When you just start, that is when you turn into your most Chingona self. Chingona means badass, right? But that doesn't mean a badass isn't scared. That doesn't mean a badass doesn't doubt themselves. Roxanne said something everybody loves, because everybody just said same Roxanne. So I do start, but then I stop and have no motivation to continue. Yeah. No, I hear you. And I was like that for a long time when I was thinking about my food blog. So I'm going to tell you the four strategies we're going to go over will be really helpful for you. So yeah, whenever you start, you turn into your most Chingona self. So here is what happens when you just start. Here's my story, a little bit more about my story. I finally started the food blog. It was called The Nutty Oven. Here's Erika in 2018. And I did it. I thought about the food blog for 2 years and I finally did it. And about a few months in, I was like, this shit feels like work. And it was so much work because I was working a tech job. If you follow any food bloggers, you know, they have those beautiful photos. Like I had to test the recipes, put things in the oven, take the photos, create the posts. It was a lot of work and I never made a dollar from it. And then I realized, you know what? I absolutely love cooking, but this isn't what I want to do forever. But people loved my stories when I would share habits and when I would share like days in my life or things that I learned in a book. And I was like, well, you know, people obviously like me, but I'm not the food blogger. So, I mean, very rarely did people even make my recipes. Like they just followed me because of me. So I was like, okay. It took me forever to let go of the food blog, but I finally let it go. And I let it go because I started going to yoga because I was so stressed out at my tech job. And yoga was the one thing that kept me pretty sane. And I was like, how many Latina yoga instructors do we know? I don't really know of many. So I go get my yoga teacher certification and then I start teaching. And then guess what year that was? That was at the end of 2019. And then surprise, the pandemic hit. All the yoga studios closed. And then I was essentially, you know, it was like I closed the door for the food blog and then I was kicked out of the door that had the room that was like the yoga stuff. It was like the universe threw me out and closed the door and was like, aquí no debes estar. You're not supposed to be here. So like get out. And then I started to create content on like this little app called TikTok that nobody really knew about because this was at the beginning of 2020. And then my account totally blew up. And then I became this TikTok person that helped people with TikTok. And I was like, well, I want to help people with TikTok. And then through TikTok, I kind of started to connect with other Latina creators. And I was like, you know what? I don't really like teaching people TikTok. Like this feels like the work I did at my tech job. And as much as I love the platform, I cared more about our community. So I created a little program called Purpose Driven Latina. And through creating this program of Purpose Driven Latina, I really started to focus on the community of individuals of color. And that is how I ended up landing an opportunity to interview Luis Fonsi for Hispanic Heritage Month on TikTok. And then one of my friends named Gigi, who I met through TikTok, ended up connecting me with a reporter. And that reporter ended up getting my friend Kat and I on the front of the New York Times of the Sunday Business, two Latinas on the front of the Sunday Business New York Times. And then thanks to all of you who kept asking me, I finally created a podcast. And that's probably where a lot of you stay up to date with who I am and my stuff. So remember, this is what happens when you just start. I just started. Notice I didn't stay here. So we are so afraid of making the wrong decision or of failing that we don't want to start. But when you start, this leads to this, which can lead to this, and you never know. But if you don't start your journey, you don't know, right? So earlier, Roxanne was talking about I start and then I stop and I lose motivation. Sometimes when we start things and we stop, it's because we need to pivot, and that's okay, right? If something isn't necessarily exciting you anymore, it's okay to move on to something different. If this podcast resonates with you, I invite you to join the Courage Driven Latina family, where you'll take action on your courage project in 90 days. A courage project can be finally starting the business that you've always dreamt of, being the first in your family to go to therapy, getting back in the dating game, starting a podcast, and so much more. This program is now 12 months. Yes, you heard that correctly. This means that you get support and coaching for an entire year. The doors are now open and they close on July 18th. Courage Driven Latina is for you if you identify as the black sheep of your family or friend group. If you know that you were meant for more, even if you don't even know what that is. Or if you've been dreaming about starting a business or a project, but you can't seem to take that first step. Your life will look completely different in just 90 days after joining Courage Driven Latina. This program always sells out, so if you're interested, secure your spot today. Now is the time to make a change. I cannot wait to work with you. Oh my gosh, thank you, Sandy. She said the podcast helped me with my mindset when I was studying for the bar exam. Yeah. Yeah, the pivot. Thank you for the perspective. Yes. Like I feel like us culturally are just, I'm assuming a lot of you are Latina or come from underserved communities. I feel like culturally we are natural born pivoters. You know, like our parents were immigrants, maybe you were immigrants, they've maybe switched jobs so many times. It's literally in our blood to pivot. And I don't know where in the American culture it was ingrained in us that we need to pick one thing and that's our purpose and that's forever, because the truth is your purpose is going to evolve because you evolve, right? And like, this is me just going off on a tangent. Let's see, we're like 37 minutes in. All right, let me speed it up. So here's also what happens when you just start. Gia is one of my clients who is a recruiter by day, but she really loves skincare. She's an esthetician, and she ended up opening her skincare, her esthetician practice where she does facials and whatnot, and has even hosted events where she educates people on skincare. But it took her just starting. And then we have Rosie, who was an educator when I met her, but when she finally started her recovery program where she's a coach for women of color through recovery, because she recovered herself from, I want to say, alcoholism. And now she helps women of color do the same. So it took her starting that, which was hard, but it took her starting, and she ended up leaving she used to be in education and then she was working at a tech job, but she ended up leaving that to do this full time. So how is it that these girls did that and that I did all of these different things? So let me get into the strategies now. And I know that some of you have like questions. I'm definitely going to get to questions shortly. Feel free to put them inside of the Q&A or in the chat, mainly in the Q&A, actually. That'll make it easier for my team. All right, how? Here are the 4 strategies. If you're enjoying this so far, can you put a 1 in the chat just so I know that we're all on the same page? I keep opening the wrong thing and it's like, okay, amazing. Thank you all. All right. So a courage project, you've maybe heard me talk about this, but this is strategy number 1. So let me tell you what a courage project is. A courage project is a project that it excites you, right? So again, Rebecca, was it Rebecca? Or Roxanne, sorry, Roxanne, you were talking about how, you start and stop. Well, like the first question is, does it still excite you? And then the second one is, does it scare the shit out of you? So like, it has to scare you, that courage project. That's part of the rules. It can't be something easy peasy where you're like, oh yeah, like I'm excited to go get ice cream. Let me go get ice cream. No, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm excited to impact people through my new podcast, but that means I have to go create the podcast and I'm really scared. Like I was telling my team earlier today, I was like, I'm scared. I think I might need to go pee again after who knows how many times I've already peed. So the other thing is it has to be service oriented. So it has to be good for the greater community. It can't be a project that's something like, I just want to go be rich. No, but that's very different than I want to build generational wealth to help my family and help my community. So the reason it has to be service oriented is because when it's bigger than you, you're less likely to give up, right? So the other thing that I would say for Roxanne is like, was the thing you were working on service oriented? Was it something that had a bigger why? So a courage project also requires courage, but you know that when you do it, you're going to feel more fulfilled. It's one of those things where like you do it and you're like, oh my gosh, I did that. Yeah, like I did that. It's almost like, when you're about to jump off of a cliff into like a little thing of water, like if you're at a lake and there's like, you're scared when you're going to jump, but once you jump, you feel this like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did that. Like, I feel so proud of myself. Kind of like that. And some projects in that of people that I've worked with and that I've seen, and obviously I've literally courage project my life. I'll tell you what I'm courage projecting right now. But some projects are business focused, but others aren't. Others are life focused. Others are healing focused. But what I do know is that a courage project is best executed when you have a solid community around you. Okay, here are some of the past courage projects just to give you an idea of what this could be. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about why it works and how you can use it. So Kim started the Instagram live series to discuss mental health in the Latinx community. This is the one about this is how we heal. Melody started a candle business. I have one of her candles right here. She's actually part of the first round ever of my program. But Victoria took her first solo trip. She went to Europe alone. And then one courage-driven Latina built the confidence to start dating again. Evie, who happens to be my private client now, is started a salary negotiation group coaching program, and she's helped people negotiate, I want to say over $300,000 collectively. How awesome is that, right? So she's helping women get paid. And then Daisy started a running group for women. So notice these are all projects, but they're not all of them are content related. Not all of them are business related. Like taking your first trip is scary, right? And it fits a lot of different, it fits the qualifications I was just going over earlier. So here's why a courage project works. It works because it is specific, it is simple, and it's connected to a larger purpose. And you always know what you need to do next. So one of the big things that gets in the way of like starting these things is that we get so overwhelmed with everything that there is to do that we just feel overwhelmed and we don't do anything because there's so much you can do whenever you're thinking about a goal of yours. And it can really be overwhelming, especially if we're in that research phase. Remember that thought I said earlier of like, I just need to do more research. But a courage project makes you go really specific on what you need to do that makes a big, big impact. So here are some examples. So here's Guadalupe. Lupe, she is amazing. You should definitely go follow her. She was recently on the podcast, but this is just a quick before and after for her courage project. So before, she had lost her passion for being a health coach because she used to be a health coach, and she felt really overwhelmed with where and how to pick it up after falling off of her own fitness routine. And after implementing a courage project, this is exactly what her courage project was. This is how we framed it. Post imperfectly on Instagram 3 times a week to educate the community and bring on clients. Lupe began to build her confidence, show up on social media consistently, and she reignited her passion for health coaching. But can we just take a moment to see like her courage project was super specific. Okay, her end goal was to grow her business, right? But what does she need to do in order to grow her business? Well, we chose social media. Of course, there's other ways of growing businesses, and there's other ways of implementing a courage project. I'll get to a non-business one in just a second, but post imperfectly on Instagram 3 times a week. That was what she needed to do. But we were really clear on the goal. It was to educate her community. Do you know how big that why is? It's so much easier to show up whenever you know you're doing something for a bigger purpose, whenever you know your why. And then we have Brenda. So Brenda, her courage project was all about her self-care. So before, inconsistent self-care, and she spent a lot of time overthinking, a lot of time in her head. After implementing a self-care courage project, these are her words, she was able to connect to her higher self. And she said, doing a courage project helped me strengthen my self-care rituals. I've been more consistent with the rituals and routines that help me get grounded and enable me to cope with self-doubt and take action towards growth. Not only have I seen this individual have very difficult conversations in her personal life, but I've seen her advocate for herself at work. She recently became a tenured track educational counselor at a community college. So I feel like we do a lot of similar work. She helps people in community college. I help people after. So that's it for the Courage Project. So the difference is that a Courage Project, again, let me just tell you the rules one more time. It has to excite you, it has to scare you, and it has to be for a bigger mission, and it has to be really specific. Okay, strategy number 2, this is community. So one of the big pitfalls or the things that can hold people back is being surrounded by people who aren't cheering you on, because we are social beings, okay? Community is not just a nice to have. We actually need community for survival, because back in the day, if we were kicked out of our tribe, that was death. It wasn't just like, oh, you're going to die of loneliness. No, we physically dependent on people for shelter, for food. Like we work together collectively. So community, again, is not just a nice to have. And this gets really hard nowadays whenever the people around us shut down our dreams. Like, oh, you can't write a book. Oh, you can't make that much money in your business. Oh, yeah, no, anxiety and like depression is just a normal part of life. Así es. That's how it's supposed to be, right? It's like we're constantly shut down whenever we're trying to become better versions of ourselves. So let me tell you all, I will never go to my mom. I love her so much. I will never go to her for dating advice or for business advice, but I will go to her to find out how to make chile rellenos, right? So it's all about, it doesn't mean you have to like toss everyone out of your life, but what it means is like, do you have the right people to help you execute the goal that you want to execute? Because it really matters. Your community needs to be somebody who is going where you are going or somebody who's already there. So have you ever heard, don't take directions from somebody who's never been where you want to go? So before and after community. So Lizette's a great example where her immediate circle didn't provide support for her goals. And this made her worry about the way that others may think of her when she showed up on social media. So she did not show up. But after community, after a supportive community, she said, being surrounded by these are her words, being surrounded by like-minded women who are on the same journey or even several steps ahead of me has been extremely beneficial and comforting to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel when self-doubt starts to take over. So that is community. So now we're on strategy number 3, and we're going to do a little recap because I know I'm throwing a lot at you. So actually, I'll recap right now. Strategy number 1 was courage project, right? Strategy number 2 was community. Strategy number 3 is failure goal. And right now, all of you are doing anything you can to avoid failure. You're not taking any action that could possibly result in failure. If there's a risk of failure, you're like, let's just stay over here. And the thing is that we actually don't learn from success. We learn from failure. So inside of my group program, I have my clients participate in something that we call a failure challenge. The goal is to take action on things that could result in failure. So if there's a risk that you could fail, that counts for the failure challenge. And the purpose is to show my clients and to show you, if you decide to implement a failure goal, that fear of failure is actually worse than failure itself. So if you're over here worried about like, oh man, what if I fail? If you actually fail, it's not that bad, because the more you fail and try, the more you end up succeeding. And the more you fail, the more you learn. Can you imagine, y'all, if you never failed at anything in your life? You wouldn't learn anything. Like, what kind of person would you be? Failure is redirection, and failure teaches us what we don't want. Like, let's just run back really quick to Erika's story, to my photos here. Technically, people could look at this nutty oven and say, damn, that was a failure. Or they could look at this and be like, damn, that was a failure. And I invested in yoga teacher training. I invested in a food blogging course. And then people could be like, that's a failure. I don't even really post consistently on TikTok anymore. People could be like, well, that's a failure. But no, right? It was redirection. So if it wasn't for those failures, I wouldn't be where I am today. So let me tell you what happened with my clients once we switched their mindset about failing. Before the failure challenge, my clients spent their time overthinking, and they were afraid of making decisions in the event that they made the wrong one. Can you put a 2 in the chat if that relates to you? If you're like, damn, sometimes I avoid making decisions because I don't want to make the wrong one. Okay, a bunch of 2s. Yeah. Yes. All right. After the failure challenge, here's what people did. Oh, and then there was a winner for the failure challenge, but I encourage you to just make it a goal to fail. That's the strategy here. So after the failure challenge, here's what some people did. They created and set boundaries at work, things they had never done before. They posted imperfectly on social media and started to just show up consistently. They landed clients. They applied for jobs. They made offers. Somebody dyed their own hair. Somebody else developed a wellness training for school staff because she works at a school and she noticed everybody was burnt out. And then somebody else signed up for the LA Marathon, and somebody went to their first heels class. Do you know how fun it is to go to a dance class? If you follow me, you know that I love dancing bachata. I might go after this depending on how I feel. But and then others post it on LinkedIn, and posting on LinkedIn is really vulnerable because you're like, wait, like this is the professional network. What if my old colleagues see me? So thank you all for the participation. So strategy number 4, dun dun dun. Did she just say? Yes, it is masturbation, but stick with me here. Stick with me. If you are a listener of my podcast, this probably isn't a shock to you because you are probably familiar with the 4 M's. But if you are not familiar with the 4 M's, you're probably really confused right now. You're like, is this girl a sex coach? What's going on? So here's the thing. Each one of these strategies helps us overcome a big obstacle. One big obstacle is just overall stress and overwhelm. This is the solution for that. So masturbation is an excellent way of relieving stress and of building confidence. There's a tremendous amount of research. I want to say there's a podcast episode on like how masturbation will set you free, where I go into all the research. We won't do that today. But what I will tell you is that it is physical, it's mental, it's spiritual, it's emotional, and it's also a form of self-discovery. Siri, my watch, was like, I'm not sure I understand. So it's also a form of self-discovery. And in our culture, women are shamed for just being, right? Like shame is embedded in our culture, unfortunately. And masturbation allows us to receive. It allows us to, which it's so hard for us to receive, right? So remember the small player at the beginning where it's like, you're playing small. A lot of times we block our own blessings. We feel unworthy. We feel embarrassed to take. But masturbation reminds us that we are abundant beings and that we are supposed to receive. And that helps us overcome shame, because if you can overcome shame when it comes to masturbation, you can also overcome shame when it comes to other areas of your life, right? So can we just, when I saw this slide, because I didn't choose this photo, Anna did, who's on the team. Before and after masturbation. And then she chose this photo. I could not stop laughing. I was like, we're going to keep this here. This is the best photo for this slide. So this is what I've seen with my clients. Before I taught masturbation, my clients doubted themselves and their worth. They stayed, this one's a big one. They stayed in relationships or work situations that didn't serve them. They held themselves back from starting their dream projects. After, I've seen a shift in their stress level and their ability to set boundaries, as well as their confidence. And they're able to take action and allow good things to come to them. So let's quickly recap. We're almost done. If we can't please ourselves, how can we please a partner or tell them what to do? Yes, Melody, thank you so much. Yes, you're so right, Ipadia. We don't speak of money or sex. Yep. Yep. I love it. Okay, I'm loving this conversation right now. So let's recap, because we've gone through so much. We're almost at the end. Here's what you want. You want to become the most Chingona version of yourself and finally start the project or the business that you've dreamt of. Remember, this could be as easy as having a difficult conversation, taking a trip, starting a business, launching a podcast, whatever it is that you want. Here's what's stopping you: your self-doubt and the fact that you don't really fully believe in yourself right now. And what you think the solution is to become more confident so that you can then get started. But what Erika is telling you is the actual solution is, which it is, just start. How? Courage project, community, making failure a goal, and the final M. So, okay, this worked for you, Erika, but is it going to work for me? Well, I've shown you multiple client examples, but Daisy's a perfect example, right? Where these strategies worked for her. They worked for Evie. Daisy started a running group for women in the Los Angeles area. If you ever want to do trail running, check her out. Wellness on the Trails is her Instagram. And then Evie is La Mala Mujer blog on Instagram. Again, helped negotiate over $350,000 for her clients. And what I want you to know, friends, is I feel like this is my slide. This is my line, but it's true. Like, this is our one life. This isn't practice for the next one. I mean, we won't get into like multiple lives and what you believe in spiritually, but like, this is your one life here right now. Like, this isn't the practice one. And a lot of us are waiting for something. I don't know what we're waiting for. Well, we're waiting for the confidence, but I'm telling you, the confidence comes when you take the action. So this is not the practice life. This is it. And I want to know, like, what is it that you were going to regret when you are 80 years old? There was there's research that was done. And what they found was that when people were on their deathbeds, they didn't really regret things they tried but failed at. They regretted the things they didn't give themselves a chance to do. So what is it that you're not giving yourself a chance to do? So the best way to just start and to implement these 4 strategies is through Courage Driven Latina, which is my group program that sponsored this presentation. So if this resonated with you, you're invited to Courage Driven Latina. Let me tell you more about this because it is a little different now. Courage Driven Latina is a transformational 12-month group coaching program. It used to be 3 months. It is now a 12-month group coaching program to help you execute your courage project and find a supportive community. You participate in the failure challenge. We're going to do it like 3 or 4 times this coming year. And when you join within the next 48 hours, we're going to help you with the last strategy because you get a free mini vibrator. And if you found this masterclass helpful, then imagine Courage Driven Latina. So I'm going to go back to the vibrator thing in just a second, but here's what you can expect inside of the first 30 days. And remember, you don't just have 30 days, you have 365 days in here. You'll go from believing you don't have anything to offer to know that you have a gift that's uniquely yours that you can share with the world. You'll go from thinking that you need a certificate or a degree before starting to knowing that you can learn as you go, because that's actually really beautiful that you can pivot. You're going to go from fearing failure to looking at failure as a growth opportunity and redirection. You're going to be worried about what you're going to come in worried about what your distant family or coworkers might think about you, but you're going to have such a solid community and support system that you don't even have to think about those people. You're not even going to be worried about them anymore. And then you're going to go from thinking about your dreams to actually starting them and having a solid plan for the next 90 days. So a courage project works in 90-day intervals. So that means you could do like version 1 of your courage project, version 2, version 3, version 4, right? And I've had people come back and join my program again that have worked on a life project and then a business project, or multiple business projects or multiple life projects. So I know a lot of you are looking for more clarity as well as confidence. 98% of the people that have gone through Courage Driven Latina say they are more confident after the program. 100% have clarity. So whether you want to or don't want to, you're going to have clarity. You're going to get to know more about yourself. 100% say that being in Courage Driven Latina shifted the way they think about themselves. That's huge. The opinion of yourself matters a lot. 97.5% say that their community and support system has improved since joining Courage Driven Latina. So, okay, what the heck do you get? Well, you get a free vibrator, but it's limited. But here's what else comes in. And I'm going to get into questions. So like, let me go through this really quick so we can like talk as well. You get weekly coaching calls for an entire year. You also get a business call every month. So something very focused on business. You can still ask business questions on the coaching calls. You get access to the Courage Driven Latina curriculum, which has really evolved over the last few years, because this program's been around for 3 years now. This is the 3-year anniversary. I just realized that. You get monthly live workshops. So the full 12 months you're in the program, you get live workshops, but you also get access to all of the past workshops. So all the ones I've already done, you get immediate access to those. And then you get Slack support. So you get chat support, not just by me, but the community of people who are also in the program. You get a workbook as well as a bunch of worksheets, 12 months access. And this is the investment. So we have not changed the investment. Remember, I told you all that my mom is not somebody I would go to for business advice. When I told her that Courage Driven Latina was going to be the same price for 12 months, she was like, Mija, that sounds like a horrible idea. She's like, I don't know that much about your business, but that sounds like a horrible idea. So what is inside of the Courage Driven Latina curriculum? You get clarity on how to find your courage project. There's a visualization. There's a cup exercise video, like to really gain clarity on what it is that you get clarity on what takes your energy and what gives you energy and like how to manage your energy. My story on how I found clarity, as well as a purpose workshop. You also heal through your courage project. So like how to get started even with self-doubt and imposter syndrome, connecting and healing your inner child, working through trauma, having self-compassion. We help you make a decision on a courage project, and then how to make life and business decisions even when it's scary to do so. You also get access to a bunch of these like bonus workshops, like the human design workshop that I recently did, as well as a business workshop I just did. And then you get all of these, access to all of these with guest coaches. So you can sign up. You can also talk to me if you're like, wait, Erika, I have questions. And I can also talk to you right now. But you can actually sign up at couragedrivenlatina.com. And when you do, where's the vibrator? I'm going to come back. But when you do, this is the bonus. I'm going to come back to the other ones. You get a mini vibrator from Bloomy. And the reason we went with the mini one is because you can travel with it because it's pretty compact. I mean, you can travel with anything, but space. So you get a mini vibrator from Bloomy to help you with that last strategy whenever you sign up from the masterclass. So whenever you sign up from now until we open doors, which happens on Monday, and we're limiting it to the first 15 people. But I want everybody to get this bonus. Like I really do. Okay, let me come back. Here's how you know if this might be for you. Courage Driven Latina is for you if you are successful on paper, but you feel like something's missing, or you identify as the black sheep in your family or your friend group. You're tired of overthinking and ready to just take brave action. You know that you were meant for something bigger, even if you don't know what it is yet. Or maybe you have too many interests and you're not sure which one to focus on. Maybe you know what you want, but you aren't sure how you want to get there. So you struggle with overthinking and you have a hard time taking action. Maybe you've had like some pretty big life changes and you don't even know who you are anymore, right? Maybe you became a parent. Maybe you were recently laid off. Maybe you have just like gone through different shifts and like mentally, emotionally, physically, and you've outgrown your friend group and you're looking for a community that supports you and challenges you, but also inspires you. Okay. And then the masterclass bonus. Did I already read everything on here? I did. All right. Who are some of the people that have been in this program? We have moms, we have dog moms, we have non-moms, we have stay-at-home moms, we have nonprofit workers, lawyers, tech workers, aspiring business owners, advanced business owners, people not interested in business whatsoever, introverts, extroverts, people who didn't like college, people getting their PhD, social media influencers, and then people who do not want anything to do with social media. Here's what I want you to know. Courage Driven Latina works because you get to pick your path and we help you pick the authentic path. So right here, Elena, she had a courage project on like building confidence because she's a new nurse or was a new nurse. She just like wanted more confidence with how she showed up at work and also tools on managing grief. And then this is Brenda, who you learned about earlier. This was the self-care courage project. Brenda here ended up having a courage project about work. Alma is a like wellness content creator. And then over here we have Courtney, who is a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant and works in education, right? So like everybody's doing different things. So the program works regardless of the path or the end goal, because what the program is helping you with is with those 4 strategies, right? The courage project, the failure challenge, community, as well as ensuring that your nervous system is regulated, whether it's masturbation or one of the other 4 M's. I hope you enjoyed that masterclass. I hope you had so many realizations, and I want to invite you to join me in Courage Driven Latina. This is my signature group program that has changed so many lives, that has helped people find clarity, build community, and just have the courage to go after the life that they actually want. At the end of the masterclass, I stayed on for over an hour answering questions. I just figured I would summarize it here for you so that you don't have to sit through another hour. And I have a few questions here on my side that I'm just going to answer for you so that we can go through them pretty quickly. The first question that came about was, hey, when do you meet? When are these meetings for Courage Driven Latina? I work a 9 to 5. I'm pretty busy. I want to make sure I can make them. So the meetings for Courage Driven Latina occur on Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're in Central Time, that's 7:30. If you're on Eastern Time, that's 8:30. We meet in the evenings to accommodate because most people do have day jobs who are in this program. You're meant to You're not supposed to dedicate all your time to this program. This program is supposed to work for you with limited time, even if you're busy. The other question that came up was, hey, what if I miss a meeting? So let's say I have travel coming up. Are these meetings recorded? Yes, these meetings are not only recorded, but they are also uploaded into a private podcast. Not encourage driven. I'm sorry, not in Chingona Revolution podcast, the one that you're listening to right now, but you actually get access to a private podcast for all of the call recordings and all of the workshops so that you can listen while you're on the go. What girls in the past rounds have told me that they've done is they will attend the meeting, and then whenever it was a really good coaching call or something that they really wanted to go back and listen to, they would tune into the podcast and re-listen to the calls again. So yes, you can miss meetings because you are going to have access to them on the podcast. I've even had people who were busy most of the meetings, but they got results and what they needed from the program simply by listening to the recordings. I've even had people tell me that they have had results from the program just by listening to the pre-recorded workshops, because when you join, you get access to all of the workshops that I've already done inside of the program. The other question that came up is, does this work for me if I don't want to start a business? Yes, I want to say about 40 to 50% of the projects that people work on inside of the program have nothing to do with business. A big chunk of them have to do with healing or have to do with mindset or have to do with work or relationships. So if you do not want to start a business, yes, this program is still for you. The other question that came up is, what if I already have an established business? Yes, this program is still for you because we have the monthly business calls. And on these monthly business calls, you can ask all the strategy questions. And hey, you could still bring your business questions to the weekly coaching calls, but the monthly ones are the ones that really allow us to dive really deep into business. So even if you have a thriving business, you will still benefit from this program because not only will I help you with strategy, somebody had asked the question actually about like podcasts, like what if I already have a podcast? What can you help me with? I was like, okay, well, first and foremost, like, with your mindset around your podcast, right? And if you have a business, your mindset is probably keeping you from playing big, right? You're maybe still playing small. So that's the first thing. But the other thing that like we can help with, whether it's a podcast or a business, is strategizing how to work smarter, not harder. So really pre-planning your podcast episodes, how to repurpose from your podcast episodes, how to pitch to bring on big guests on your podcast, how to get you onto podcasts, how to help you market the podcast. I mean, there's so many different things. And if you have a business, same thing, right? How can we help you work smarter, not harder? How can we help you market your business? How can we help you pitch yourself to collaborate with other people? How can we help increase your sales? All of that. The other question that came up is, what if I don't want to post on social media? Well, if you don't want to post on social media, you totally do not have to, right? There is a social media workshop, but most people who are in the program don't really want to post on social media, and that's totally okay. The other question was, what if I don't have a lot of time? I work full time and I'm a mom. If you have 2 hours for the week to dedicate to this, then that is all you need. And the reason I say 2 hours is because the coaching calls are 90 minutes. So it's an hour and a half. But if you're listening to the recordings, you can even listen to them on 2x, right? You don't have to listen to them at the regular time. And then I would say like 30 minutes a week to implement the work. So if you only have 2 hours a week, this program is going to work for you, even if you have busy seasons in your life, because remember, this program is now 12 months long. So even if there's a busy season, if all you're doing is showing up to the calls, you are still going to have a year access to this program. What if I don't know what my courage project is? No problem whatsoever. There is the whole first part of the curriculum to help you find clarity. That's also what we help you on during the coaching calls. The other question that came up, actually, let me say one more thing about like, if you don't know what your courage project is, most people come into the program not knowing what they're going to work on, and they figure it out in the program. Because remember, this program used to be called Purpose Driven Latina. So I still have a ton of curriculum on how to find your purpose. So this is still for you, even if you don't know what you want to do. The other question was, is this just an online course or is there actual live coaching? How is it that we get support? So it is an online course in that you have videos that you could go watch. But the reason that we have videos that you could go watch is so that you can watch those on your own time, because I want the time that we spend together on the live coaching calls to be about coaching, not to be about teaching. Because what if somebody doesn't want to post on social media, like, and I'm over here teaching all about social media? Well, that's not really helpful for that person, right? So it's better for me to have a library of videos for you so that you could pick and choose what you want to watch. And then you could come to the calls and get coaching on the calls. So yes, there is an online course component, but you also get live coaching from it. And you also can get support through Slack. Slack is our messaging tool that allows you to get coaching by me or one of my support coaches, as well as access to the community. Other questions that came up were, hey, I'm working on my PhD thesis, on my thesis for my PhD, and I'm just like not sure how much time I'm going to have to dedicate to this. Like, would you recommend that I wait? And my response to that question was, hey, what if you join and the first version of your Courage project is working on your thesis, working on your PhD for your thesis? What if that is what you work on for the first few months of the program? And then after that, your Courage project can evolve to, what do I want to do with my PhD? What do I want to do with my life now that I have this degree? Other questions that came up were, what if I don't speak Spanish? This program is completely in English. The other one was, what if I'm not full Latina? What if I'm like half? Or what if I'm not even Latina? This program, you do not have to be Latina for it. I will say that it is pretty focused on being a woman of color or being like a daughter of immigrants or just coming from an underserved community, but you do not even have to be Latina. Another question that came up is like, what if I didn't go to college? You do not have to have gone to college to be in this program. This program is going to meet you wherever you are. The other one was like, well, what if I want to go back to school? Well, I think I kind of answered that with the PhD question. We have people who have their PhDs in this program, right? People who can't wait to go back and get their masters. And then we have people who are like, you know what? School ain't for me. It does not matter. I feel like this is a type of alternative education that is going to help you get the most out of not going to school or going to school if that's what you choose. Another question that came up is, what if I have a problem with procrastination? And with procrastination, if you are having a hard time with being consistent and taking action, this program is meant to help you overcome procrastination because of the built-in accountability and the built-in community and the structure of the Courage Project that gives you a clarity on what you need to do next. A lot of time we become overwhelmed with what it is that we want to do next. So having something like a Courage Project gives you clarity on what happens next. You know exactly what you need to do. Another question that came up is, hey, I've invested in a program similar to this before. I really wanted community and I didn't get that out of it. I can assure you all that the number one thing you are going to get out of this program is community, especially because now this program is a year long. You are going to get access to so many amazing people that are walking different parts and different paths of life. And as much as I want to say, hey, I created this awesome program and I'm a great coach, it's the reality is that what people rave about is the community aspect. Do not underestimate the power of an aligned community of people who understand what you're trying to do and support you while you do it. As much as all of the strategies I talked about are super important, I would say that community is the single most important one because that's what keeps you going. And that is what people have all raved about that have been in this program. And I mean, so much so that we already have a bunch of people registered for this program because we opened the doors early at the Masterclass for people that were on the wait list. And most of those people have already been in the program. So that just goes to show that people can't wait to continue to be a part of this community, especially, like I said, because it's 12 months long this time. So I'm just super excited because what people were able to do in 90 days in a 3-month period, now imagine what's going to happen when we have this program for a year. You're going to have the option to not just do one Courage project, not just 2, not just 3, but maybe even 4. And I just know that the success stories that are going to continue to come out of this are incredible. And I really hope that you are one of them because let me tell you, friends, my biggest competitor is not another program. My biggest competitor is not another coach. My biggest competitor is your comfort zone. And if you remember my podcast episode on how to live a great versus good life, you can stay where you are and your life wouldn't be horrible. It wouldn't be bad at all. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you choose that you want to do. But I want you to live a great life. I want you to live a fulfilled life. I want you to know how powerful you are and how amazing that I get to be a part of that journey with you, even just being this podcast host. So if you've been thinking about working with me, this is the best time to work with me. Remember, my mom said that this was a horrible idea to extend the program for 12 months. So I'm testing it out. And why not join when you will have access to this program for an entire year for the same investment for a quarter of the price, right? You're getting a $9,000 value for a quarter of the price. So if you've been thinking about making a change in your life, this is your sign. This is your invitation to do so. I cannot wait to see you in the program. Go to couragedrivenlatina.com. There is a 5-month payment plan. There's a pay in full option. And then you can even schedule a call with me if you need to speak with me. This is the last time I'm doing calls. So if you have any doubt in your mind, speak with me and we will make sure that this program is a good fit for you. I can't wait to work with you. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and I will see you inside the program. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Make sure to visit theerikacruz.com. That's Erika with a K, where you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. You can help this podcast grow by supporting me with an Apple Podcast rate and review. If you took anything away from this episode, I invite you to take a screenshot and share it on social media so that your favorite badass Latinas can also check it out. Be sure to tag me at the Erika Cruz. That's Erika with a K because you know I want to see it. If you're ready to join the revolution and be a part of the Courage Driven Latina community, visit couragedrivenlatina.com to get more information and join the waitlist. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.